Good morning, truth. Every morning when we rise and before we close our eyes at night, we need to give God thanks for His grace and His mercy. For without God's grace and mercy, we could not survive or exist. We tend to take God's grace and mercy for granted because we don't understand the magnitude of His love. God's love for each of us is rooted in and elevated through His grace and His mercy. What we need to understand is that grace and mercy are not exactly the same. In the most simplistic terms, grace is what God extends to us and gives us even though we don't deserve. And His mercy is an act of His love displayed by holding back what we actually do deserve. In Acts 9, we read the story of Saul, who was a persecutor of Christ. Yet God, instead of punishing him or condemning him, converted him, changed his name to Paul, and made him an apostle of Christ and the author of nearly half of the New Testament. King David sought God's mercy in Psalms 51:1-2 when he confessed his sin. He prayed, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin." Despite his many failures, David asked God to relent and not bring upon him the full consequences of his sin. To truly embrace the grace and mercy of God, we need to walk in humility, confessing that we are all sinners, and that no one is able to meet God's standard of perfection, which makes none of us worthy of God's grace or His mercy. Only when we humble ourselves and admit this as truth can we shift our focus from our human-centeredness to God and acknowledge His authority over us all. It's our knowledge and acceptance of God's grace and mercy that liberates us from perfectionism, pridefulness, and rebellious hearts. Thanks be to God, through the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, we have been extended the privilege of living for Him. As we walk every day striving to live according to His word and His ways, we will continue to experience His grace and mercy rather than His wrath. It is because of God's grace that the seed of love has been placed in our hearts, and God has charged us to nurture that seed so that we can bear fruit. As God's chosen and beloved people, we must commit to being gracious and merciful to others and to do all things in truth and love. Remember, when you start your day with truth, blessings throughout the remainder of the day.
Our theme music is composed by Darren J. Ross and can be purchased at iTunes.